Chosen one, there comes a moment in your life when you begin to realize that everything you went through was never random. The loneliness, the battles, the delays, the closed doors, the strange heaviness you carried since childhood, none of it was accidental. You have always been different, set apart, marked for a purpose that you couldn't fully understand until now. While others walked easy paths, yours was steep. While others were surrounded by support, you were pushed into seasons of silence. And while others lived without much resistance, you felt like life trained you with a different intensity, because it did. You were chosen for a calling that required depth. It required endurance. It required the kind of strength that only comes from walking through fires and surviving storms that would have destroyed most people. Every tear watered your destiny. Every disappointment redirected you. Every betrayal sharpened you. And every season of isolation carved out a level of maturity, wisdom, and clarity that cannot be taught. It can only be lived. Whether you understood it or not, heaven was shaping you, shielding you, separating you. Your path has been anything but ordinary because you are anything but ordinary. You were not designed to fit in. You were designed to rise, to carry light in dark places, to walk with a strength that inspires others, to stand as proof that purpose can be born from pain. This journey you're about to explore will reveal the truth behind your struggles, your delays, your hidden seasons, and your spiritual resilience. It will show you that everything you faced was preparation, everything you survived was training, and everything you lost was making room for what's coming next. Chosen one, your story is only beginning. Chapter 1. The calling you didn't ask for. Chosen one, you never asked for this calling. You never woke up and declared, "I want a destiny that separates me from everyone else." You didn't volunteer for the battles, the loneliness, or the spiritual weight you've been carrying since before you even understood what a calling was. You were simply pulled into it, drawn by something greater, something invisible, something undeniably divine. There were early signs, even if you didn't recognize them at the time. Those moments where you felt out of place, not because something was wrong with you, but because something was different about you. You had insights others didn't have. You felt things others ignored. You noticed patterns, energies, and truths that most people walked right past. You weren't trying to be special. You just were. Set apart without asking, marked without applying. People around you couldn't explain it, and neither could you. There were shifts in your spirit that you couldn't put into words. Deep inner nudges, sudden clarity, powerful intuition. A sense that life was speaking to you in a language only your soul understood. And though you tried to blend in, you simply couldn't. The calling wouldn't let you. Being chosen never meant being perfect. It meant being appointed, positioned, selected for a purpose that often requires endurance rather than ease. A purpose that includes pruning seasons, where God removes what cannot go with you. A purpose that includes isolation, where God disconnects you from voices that would interfere with your growth. A purpose that includes discomfort, because transformation never happens in comfort zones. And yet, through all of that, you didn't run. Even when you didn't understand the assignment, you didn't reject it. Even when you questioned why your path was so different, you didn't walk away. Maybe you didn't say aloud yes, but you also didn't say no. You kept going. You kept growing. You kept listening to the quiet pull on your heart. And that was enough. The calling chose you long before you knew how to carry it. And every step you've taken, every sacrifice, every loss, every inner shift has been your spirit saying, "I'm willing." Even when your mind didn't understand it, your soul responded. Chosen one, whether you realized it or not, you answered the call. Chapter 2. The Wilderness Season. Chosen one, every person with a divine assignment must walk through the wilderness. It is the place where nothing makes sense, yet everything is being shaped. You didn't enter this season by accident. You were led there, not to break you, but to build you. In the wilderness, your prayers felt like they were hitting the ceiling. The people you trusted drifted away. Opportunities that once seemed promising suddenly dried up. Plans collapsed, doors closed. It felt like your whole life was being stripped down to the foundation, and you were left asking, "God, where are you?" What you didn't realize then was that the silence was not divine rejection. It was divine training. When God is quiet, it's because He is strengthening something in you that noise would interrupt. The wilderness is where your spiritual muscles form, where patience is developed, where trust is purified, where strength becomes genuine instead of borrowed. You learned how to stand alone. You learned how to pray when you didn't feel anything. You learned how to walk by faith, not reassurance. And even though you stumbled, even though you questioned, even though you had nights where tears replaced words, you never surrendered to darkness. You never let despair have the final say. You might have cried. You might have begged for answers. You might have wondered why your path was so painful. But you stayed. You stayed in the fight. You stayed connected to God even when He felt distant. You stayed committed to becoming the version of yourself you knew you were called to be. That choice, to remain when quitting would have been easier, is what separated you from the crowd. The wilderness didn't destroy you, it refined you. It made you resilient, spiritually sharp, emotionally anchored, and undeniably stronger. And now, whether you feel it or not, you carry a depth that only people who survive the wilderness can possess. The season that was meant to confuse you actually prepared you, chosen one. You endured your wilderness, and that endurance was the test you didn't know you were passing. Chapter 3. The Hidden Years. Chosen one, before God ever elevates a person, He hides them. Not because you are unworthy, but because you are too valuable to be exposed before the right time. And whether you realized it or not, you went through a long season of being unseen, on purpose. There were years where nobody applauded your growth. Nobody recognized your effort. Nobody understood your quiet obedience. You were doing the right things, making the right choices, choosing integrity when no one was watching. And still, your life seemed to be happening in the shadows. It felt unfair. It felt lonely. It felt like your potential was being wasted. But what you didn't realize was this: God was developing you in private because the weight of your calling required roots, not attention. During those hidden years, you were becoming someone stronger than your circumstances. While others were chasing validation, you were learning discipline. While others were focused on being seen, you were being shaped. You chose prayer instead of pettiness, healing instead of hiding, stillness instead of chaos. You grew in ways that weren't flashy, but were foundational. Nothing about that season was glamorous. No spotlight, no applause, no recognition. But spiritually, it was powerful. Heaven was watching the choices no one else saw, the sacrifices that went unacknowledged, the growth that didn't trend online, the forgiveness you gave, even when it wasn't deserved, the kindness you showed without expecting credit. Those hidden years were your preparation ground, your spiritual training camp. God uses obscurity to protect His greatest warriors until their character matches their calling. You were not being ignored, you were being preserved. You were not being overlooked, you were being sharpened. God hid you because the world wasn't ready for what He was building inside you. And now, something is shifting. The same version of you that prayed quietly, healed privately, and matured silently is rising with a strength that can no longer be mistaken or dismissed. The seeds you planted in the dark, faithfulness, integrity, self-control, obedience, are about to break the surface. What you built in secret, God is preparing to reward in public. The years you thought were wasted were actually working for you. The silence was shaping you. The isolation was teaching you. The stillness was anchoring you. Chosen one, understand this truth. You passed the test of faithfulness in the dark. And because of that, the next season will not look like the last. The hidden years are over. A new chapter is beginning. And this time, you will not rise unseen. Chapter 4. The Voice You Learned to Hear. Chosen one of the greatest transformations you experienced wasn't external, it was internal. Somewhere along your journey, you learned to hear God differently. Not louder, but clearer. Not through chaos, but through stillness. At first, you didn't trust your own discernment. You second-guessed your intuition. You questioned the nudges in your spirit. You wondered if you were imagining things or being too sensitive. But you weren't. You were being trained. God was teaching you the language of the Spirit, subtle, precise, unmistakable, once you learned to recognize it. You began to notice that the more life humbled you, the sharper your spiritual hearing became. Pain tuned your ears. Silence refined your perception. Isolation removed the noise that once clouded your judgment. And suddenly, what used to confuse you began to make sense. You could feel the difference between what was meant for you and what was sent to distract you. You didn't just learn to hear God through sermons or people. You learned to hear Him in quiet moments, in conviction, in peace, in warnings, in sudden clarity that interrupted your fear. You learned that God doesn't always shout, He whispers, and His whisper became your compass. There were situations that looked perfect from the outside, opportunities, connections, relationships. Yet something inside you whispered, "Not this." And even when your mind said yes, your spirit said no. That was discernment, being born in you. Not because anyone taught it, but because life forced you to listen deeper. Every disappointment sharpened your spiritual senses. Every betrayal trained you to recognize motives before they revealed themselves. Every battle tuned your heart to God's frequency. Your discernment was not a gift handed to you. It was a skill shaped through suffering, obedience, and survival. And now, you no longer need constant confirmation. You no longer rely on the opinions of others. You no longer feel confused about what carries light and what carries darkness. You can sense energy. You can detect intentions. You can recognize spiritual danger in things that look appealing. This is not something ordinary people walk in. This is the mark of someone chosen, someone who survived enough storms to know the difference between a wave sent by God and a wave sent to drown them. You learn to trust your inner voice, the one God placed within you. You learn that discernment is not paranoia, it's protection. It saved you from mistakes. It pulled you away from traps. It guided you toward wisdom when your emotions wanted something else. Chosen one. You didn't just hear God, you learned to recognize Him. And that ability is one of your greatest weapons. Chapter 5. The Battles That Revealed Your Strength. Chosen one. Your journey has not been peaceful. You didn't get to walk through life without resistance. In fact, it often felt like you were fighting battles no one else even knew existed. While others lived casually, you lived spiritually awake, attacked, stretched, challenged, and pressured in ways that felt unfair. But those battles were not proof that God abandoned you. They were proof of the strength He placed inside you. You were thrown into situations meant to break you, yet somehow you endured. You faced storms that would have destroyed a weaker soul, but you kept standing. People tried to undermine you. Circumstances tried to drain you. Life tried to exhaust you. And still, you rose again and again, even when you didn't feel strong, even when you were running on empty. That's what makes you chosen. Your warfare wasn't ordinary, because your calling isn't ordinary. The enemy recognized your potential before you did. Darkness saw your light long before you knew how bright you were. That's why you experienced so much pressure, so much spiritual interference, so much emotional weight. It was intimidation. The attacks came because you were dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. But here's the deeper truth. Every battle trained you. Every hardship equipped you. Every painful experience built something in you that comfort never could. You learned resilience, not the kind you pretend to have, but the kind you earn through survival. You developed emotional discipline, spiritual maturity, and a level of inner strength that cannot be taught in books or classrooms. Strength forged in fire is strength that lasts. Your heart was stretched, but it didn't harden. Your mind was attacked, but it didn't collapse. Your spirit was tested, but it didn't break. Each time you thought you had reached your limit, you discovered a deeper layer of endurance, a hidden reserve of power that God planted inside you long before you knew you'd need it. You didn't just survive your battles. You evolved through them. You learned to stay calm in situations that once triggered you. You learned to pray instead of panic. You learned that silence is sometimes stronger than reacting. You learned that not every fight deserves your energy, and not every attack deserves your response. That wisdom is part of your transformation. And now, when life tries to shake you, you don't crumble like you used to. You've been refined, strengthened, seasoned by warfare. What once terrified you now teaches you. What once discouraged you now develops you. What once defeated you now deepens your connection with God. Chosen one, your battles were never just battles. They were confirmations, proof that you carry something powerful, proof that you were selected for a life that requires divine resilience, proof that you were not walking alone, even when it felt like it. You passed the test of endurance. You passed the test of spiritual warfare. And because of that, the strength you carry now is not borrowed. It is earned. Chapter 6. The Transformation. No one expected. Chosen one. One of the most defining moments of your journey was the quiet transformation that took place inside you, slowly, silently, and almost invisibly. People saw the outer version of you, but they had no idea what was happening within. They didn't know about the nights you wrestled with God. They didn't see the internal battles you fought. They didn't witness the layers of yourself you had to peel away just to breathe again. But transformation doesn't need an audience. It only needs surrender. There came a moment when you outgrew your old self, not because life forced you to, but because your spirit refused to stay the same. You began to feel uncomfortable in places that used to feel familiar. You lost interest in conversations that had no depth. You drifted away from people who refused to grow. You felt a pull toward purpose that you couldn't ignore anymore, even if you tried. And while others thought you were acting different, the truth was simple. You were becoming who God always intended you to be. The transformation was internal, long before it became visible. Your mindset shifted, your priorities changed, your heart matured. You stopped chasing validation and began seeking alignment. You stopped reacting to everything and started observing. You stopped explaining yourself and started protecting your peace. This change wasn't overnight. It took tears, self-reflection, forgiveness, uncomfortable honesty, and spiritual courage. You had to confront old wounds, break generational patterns, heal from things you never received apologies for, release people you loved but couldn't walk with anymore. You had to outgrow versions of yourself that were built from survival rather than purpose. And even though this process hurt, it was holy. Every piece of the old you that fell away made room for something greater, something wiser, something stronger, something more spiritually grounded. Your transformation surprised people, not because it happened suddenly, but because they never believed you had this much greatness inside you. They underestimated your power. They misjudged your depth. They thought your trials weakened you, but they didn't realize your trials shaped you. Now you carry a calm that comes from clarity, a confidence that comes from healing, a presence that comes from spiritual alignment, a voice that carries authority because it was forged through brokenness and rebuilt through grace. The version of you that exists today is the result of every painful lesson, every lonely night, every prayer whispered in exhaustion, and every moment where you chose growth over comfort. Chosen one, your transformation is not a coincidence. It is the fulfillment of your calling. You didn't just change, you evolved. And this new version of you is the one God will use to step into the next season of your purpose. Chapter 7. The moment heaven marked your victory. Chosen one, there is a moment in every divine journey when heaven itself acknowledges that you crossed a threshold, when the tests, the battles, the tears, and the silent endurance shift into divine approval. You've reached that moment, not because life got easier, but because you didn't quit when quitting seemed like the only option. Heaven doesn't measure success the way the world does. It doesn't look at titles, money, or applause. It looks at endurance. It looks at faith when everything collapses. It looks at obedience when your heart is tired. It looks at the moments you whispered, "God, I trust you," even when you barely believed it. And you did all of that. You passed the test not by being perfect, but by being faithful. There were seasons where you felt like you were moving backwards, times when your prayers went unanswered, days where you questioned your worth and your purpose, nights where you wondered if God had forgotten you. But heaven saw what no one else saw. You stayed, you kept going, you kept praying, you kept believing, you kept standing in storms that were designed to knock you down permanently. And because of that, something shifted in the spirit realm. The chains that once held you no longer fit. The patterns that once trapped you no longer control you. The cycles that repeated for years have now been broken. The attacks that once intimidated you now expose themselves before they can reach you. You didn't just survive, you crossed over. This is why lately you've been feeling a strange clarity, a quiet strength, a sense that something is ending and something new is beginning. It's not your imagination. It's alignment. Heaven is repositioning you. Your spirit outgrew the warfare that once defeated you. Your faith outlasted the storms that were meant to bury you. Your obedience unlocked blessings that delay could no longer hold back. This is the chapter where God says, "Well done, you endured. Now watch what I do next." You have stepped into a season where what was withheld will be released. What was blocked will be opened. What was lost will be restored. What was delayed will be accelerated. Not because you earned it, but because you endured for it. Heaven has recorded your victory, and life is about to reflect it. Chosen one, you didn't quit, and that was the moment everything changed. Conclusion: your past was never the end. Chosen one, stop for a moment and let this sink in. Everything you went through, every mistake, every failure, every tear-stained night was never wasted. Heaven has been writing a story with your life long before you understood it. Your past was never meant to disqualify you. It was meant to equip you. The sins you carried, the shame you battled, the moments you felt unworthy, they were all classrooms. You learned lessons no one else could teach you. You gained wisdom no one else could give you. You walked through darkness so that your light could burn brighter than you ever imagined. Every battle, every struggle, every attack was not a punishment, but a preparation. God didn't let your life fall apart. He let it be refined. You were being shaped into a vessel capable of carrying power, insight, and mercy that only the broken can hold. The enemy tried to bury you, but you survived. The enemy tried to shame you, but now you walk in authority. The enemy tried to silence you, but your voice carries heaven itself. And here's the truth, chosen one. Your story is no longer just about you. Your journey is a map for others who are still trapped in guilt, fear, and shame. Your scars are not a mark of failure. They are a testimony of triumph. What once felt like a dead end is now the doorway to your destiny. You were never chosen because of perfection. You were chosen because of purpose. You were never abandoned in your pain. You were being prepared for something greater. And now, the chains are breaking, the light is rising, and your life is becoming a living declaration of God's mercy, grace, and glory. So step forward boldly, chosen one. Speak the truth of your journey. Carry the message of hope, walk in authority, love without limits, heal without hesitation. The past does not define you, it designs you. This is your moment. Your calling is not delayed. Your destiny is not lost. Your victory is not optional, it's inevitable. You are the proof that God does not waste a single tear, a single mistake, or a single broken season, and the world will see it.